So first of all, thank you all for inviting me. It's great to be here. It's great to be the second new provider that's talking this morning. There'll be some commonalities and some differences between what you've heard from Bev and indeed from some of the earlier presentations as well. Bev quite nicely segued into this presentation as well by mentioning the word international. Because if we look at TEDI London is very much an international organisation that we were set up through the Plus Alliance, which is a collaboration between three leading global universities, between King's in London, between University of New South Wales in Sydney, and between Arizona State University in Phoenix. The reason that we were established was actually to try out new ways of engineering higher education, to really be ahead of the wave, to be a sandpit in new ways of doing things. A little earlier, it was mentioned about scaling, and while we're starting small, the key challenge that we've got is how to develop methods and approaches that can then be scaled across tens of thousands of students as we go back into our partners and into the community at large. So what are we about? Well, we were just discussing what sort of degree programs are people delivering. So we're delivering a BEng, which is an undergraduate bachelor's, and an MEng, which is an integrated master's. So in other words, another undergraduate program in global design engineering. And these are very much the sort of integrated general course that was just mentioned, but very much with a global and a design focus. So what are we aiming to do? Well, TEDI London is about creating socially aware and globally focused graduates that are job ready, that are really good to go out there. I mean, in terms of the skill set, they've then got very much the skill set that future-proofs them as well, as others have been talking about in this session. As I mentioned, there's a distinctive design component to what we do, design flavor, and there's an entrepreneurial skill set that's coming through. As with Bev and what Bev was mentioning about the student intake, we're taking a diverse set of students into TEDI London. So roughly 50% of them will be female. But in turn, and that's our target, but first of all, when will we take our first students? Our first students will be coming into TEDI London in September 2021. Yes, we'll be looking to take a large number of females. We're also looking to take a very diverse range of students, so significantly more from the low socioeconomic groupings than many universities take. Also, as with MI, a greater proportion of mature students as well. And we'll come to selection in a minute. But in terms of our program, we're taking a very much, as you've heard from others, student-led as well. Most of our learning outcomes will be obtained through real-life projects. So very much working in the makerspace, working on globally relevant projects. These are co-designed and co-delivered with industry partners, with NGOs, with external stakeholders. And we'll come back to the learning tree shortly, but they're also supported by self-directed study that's using our learning tree. And Charles did a good presentation of the learning tree earlier. We'll take you further on that. In terms of the learning tree as well, that was mentioned earlier, what do you do to support people? It's very much students. It's very much a self-directed approach that we're using, but then with fallback support, because we're operating so closely with the students. We will be there to catch them. We'll be there to catch them in 2 or 3 different ways. First of all, in terms of the system, we're using a Microsoft 365 system for delivering our learning tree. So we'll know as soon as students are beginning to fall behind that we will need to give them support. Also, in terms of the way that the staff are operating with them as well. We're looking for accreditation from the Institute of Engineering and Technology, as well as the Institute of Engineering Design. In terms of approaches, well, first of all, we're taking a broad range of students. Bev mentioned about the challenges of taking in the right students, in other words, looking for fit, taking the students that fit TEDI London, but also signposting those students that don't fit with our pedagogy, that won't thrive in the TEDI London environment elsewhere. So what are we doing? First of all, maths is critical, at least the propensity to be able to apply maths is critical. So what we're doing is we're taking a broad range of students who either have got maths and physics, say at A level, so at the age of 18, they'll be very welcome, but also others from a broader range of subjects, so maybe creative students, the students with a creative background are coming in, who've not done maths since the age of 16. We'll be taking those and more mature students without formal maths qualifications at a higher level through a maths, a test which is looking at their potential to be able to thrive with the maths that we need to teach them within the course. So we will be giving a maths test, but looking at potential rather than skill set, because we'll teach them the skill set. We'll be looking at attitude, aptitude, and ability. And through the assessment centre, we will be looking at their aptitude and approach towards tackling the types of problems we'll be giving them during the programme. So what do we do? As others, we value flexibility, we value courage, we value empowerment. We're offering both a standard programme, which is a 30-week programme, and we will be offering a 40-week accelerated programme as well with our MEng, which, as with MMIT, runs over 3 years. Where are we based? Well, very much like we were just hearing from Bev, there's a real sense of place. So we've got very much a global outlook, but we've also got a sense of place within London. So we're based in one of the most deprived boroughs within London. We're also based within a major redevelopment project. So around us is a living lab, if you like. That is a £3.3 billion sterling redevelopment plan over the next 15 years. It's the biggest town centre regeneration, new town centre within London within about a century. So great opportunity here, great opportunity to spread out as well. Smart cities is one of the things we're delivering within the programme. And indeed, our programme is very much is challenge focused as well. So each of the modules are very much challenge focused, where we're bringing the different skill sets. The project-based learning as well will be delivered by industry, so co-developed, co-delivered by industry. And I think if we look at it in terms of where we're based, there'll be a real opportunity here, and one of the key foci will be on embedding the activities that are going on around us into the curriculum on a living basis. In terms of how we then support the students through the learning tree, and this comes back to the student journeys that was the topic of this particular session. We've devised a learning tree. We've very much taken the concepts and ideas that are coming through Charles Sturt and taken them a little bit further. So we've developed an online platform that delivers content to students in an engaging, responsive, and interactive way. We've got, based on the work that Charles Sturt has done, we've developed 3-hour blocks that will deliver bite-sized chunks, if you like, that will deliver knowledge just in time, used in the context. So they'll be delivered in time for them to then operate within the makerspace to be able to do the projects that they're doing. And we certainly don't believe in teaching just in case. So the material that we'll be delivering to our students will be material they really require, both within their program with us and with the rest of their career as well. So, as I mentioned, students will be expected to take responsibility for their own learning. It will be very much self-directed learning, but with support. So the learning tree will give them the knowledge and the skills that are necessary. If you like, it takes them up to a threshold level of skill and knowledge that they then need to thrive within the maker spaces. So if we take a look at the learning tree, we're coming at it from 2 different angles. We're coming at it, first of all, from the more traditional sort of explore angle, where the students can explore it in their own time as their inquiry takes them through the different material that's in there. So here you see 3 different branches of the learning tree mapped out. We've got a mocked up structural, computing, and business. And you can see how the students can go through over the different years of the program, and actually, a bit like going through a library, just take the nodes off the shelf, take them in their own time. But we've also got a steered way of doing it as well. So very much the learn mode of the learning tree is very much steered by the modules. So each of the modules, rather than producing a learning list, has got a set of nodes which are connected through the learning tree that the students will be taken through. Each of these nodes, the students will need to show that they've got the right level of skill and knowledge by taking an assessment at the end of the node that then shows us that they've got the right level of knowledge and the threshold level to actually go and thrive within the makerspace. And they've got the opportunity to retake until they get to that level of competency. In terms of the modules, there'll be core modules, core nodes, and there'll be optional nodes. This will also depend to some extent on individual students as well. I mentioned about taking students who may not have maths and physics at the right level to come in and provide them with the knowledge to thrive immediately with our program. So we'll also have, for example, option modules for some that are built in as core modules for those who need to upskill their maths and physics.
Smartphone connected.
Then in terms of what will the node look like, this just gives you a quick, we've not got time to go through it here, but this gives you a flavor of what the nodes will look like. We've developed a number of these, we're developing a whole series of them. And as I mentioned, they're really engaging for the students. There's a set of quizzes within there as well to ensure that they've taken on board the knowledge before there's a summative test at the end. Then in terms of what we've achieved so far, like others on the call, we pivoted very much in the face of COVID. Although we're not taking our first students till September 2021, we've run summer schools for the last 2 years. So this year we pivoted for Easter, from Thinking Easter, we were running for 30 students. Yes, it was global, but we were bringing 30 students globally into Canada Water in London. What we then did was pivoted online, made it free, and we took on 147 students from 21 different countries, formed 15 project teams, had 19 academic mentors, 25 industry mentors. So you can see that there's a plethora of different things. What were we doing here? Well, it's very much about coming up with technological solutions to producing a dementia-friendly environment within TEDI London. And the great prize here was for those students to then pitch, to get their ideas and concepts into the master plan, or being considered for the master plan, and the real opportunity to embed it within the community in TEDI London. So what were they doing? They were looking at 3 themes: outdoor environments, indoor and aged care facilities, and big data. In terms of delivery, obviously it was virtual. It was through our Teams and through our virtual learning environment, through the learning tree. There was small group projects. There was design thinking that was used. But what was amazing on this as well, 20 different time zones. So we spanned 20 different time zones, which meant that we could prove the principle of what we're doing across the globe, basically. And given we started with 147 students, less than 8% of those students dropped out, despite the fact that it was free. So again, I think that's a real testament to what we were doing, the impact of what we were doing. The students really enjoyed it as well. So what came through from the students? A lot of what they learned with us was new to them. So I think, first of all, one thing to mention is that during we interviewed them all for the summer school. A lot of them were concerned about how they would operate in an interdisciplinary environment. So that cut in a number of different ways. It was even across different engineering subdisciplines. It was between engineers and others. And I should mention at this time that 50% of the students were engineers, 50% of the students were non-engineers. So we're really road testing what we'll be doing in TEDI London, which is taking a broad student base. What it also showed was that they realized at the end of it what the power of working as interdisciplinary teams really was. They had confidence, which is obviously a key aspect of delivering a program like this. They had confidence to be able to go forward and work within that team. They came in very unconfident, but even through a virtual environment, they went out with their head held high, knowing that they could really add value, and add value globally as well. So it's changed their perception. They've also felt that it was probably one of the best summers they had, which, given that we had a COVID summer this year, I think that's a fantastic thing to take away with. So we've got a real opportunity here. We're not live for undergraduates yet. We're going live in September, but we've got a great journey ahead of us, and we look forward to sharing that with you as we carry on forwards. And over to you for questions.
Thank you very much, Mike. First one, Annette, do you want to come in and expand on that a little bit?
Oh, yes, I would. Thank you very much. I think it was a fascinating story and a case. And what we are dealing with right now at Aalborg University, also in the mega projects that we are working on, it's really how to create the interdisciplinary collaboration, because this is not easy. I have to say. And I'm totally willing to present all our laundry here, but it's not easy. So what is your experiences actually? How do you create this interdisciplinary collaboration, especially if the students are going to work together on some kind of a device and some kind of an innovation? They really need to work very deeply, closely together, and they need to understand each other's disciplinary knowledge in order to connect, to combine. Any lessons learned from your side?
Yeah, so I guess there's a number of things. I think one is about the selection of the students, so ensuring that the students have got the right mindset to thrive in that environment, and that's really a key factor coming through. It's then about training, and training falls into two categories actually, and this touches on one of the things that Bev was talking about, which is about the challenge of bringing staff in from perhaps a more established set of organisations into more of a startup organisation that is thinking very differently, that is delivering learning outcomes pretty much exclusively through a project-based approach. So training staff so that the staff know how to best equip the students, training the students as well. So what we did for the summer school was actually train the students in teamwork, train the students in the right sort of mindset to be able to tackle the problem. Also train them in understanding that they've each got something to bring to the table as well, that each of them is unique, that coming through to the power of diversity really, that no matter what you've got, no matter if you're a nurse from New Zealand or an engineer from London, you've still got something to bring to this type of problem. And it's only by working together that you can actually come up with a much stronger solution than if you were just to bring your own skill set into it.
Okay, yes, it still to me sounds very easy. And I know because I'm working with it, so
Yeah.
I know how difficult it is. So what kind of tools, what kind of methods are you using? Because mindset, yeah, we all have mindset. I'm pretty sure our students also are very positive in when they actually enter our mega projects in that. So that for me is not enough. I want a deeper answer.
Okay, so to carry on then, and I'll see what I can do. First of all, the why. So, you know, and you'll be familiar with this as well, but understanding the why. So we've got real life projects that are coming in. So ensuring that the students know why they're doing what they're doing. Then through, first of all, framing the problem. So framing the project in such a way that they will engage with it. Then in terms of, first of all, I mentioned about how we would skill them up, but then in terms of bringing external experts and mentors in as well to set the context of what they will be doing, then working alongside them. So first of all, there's peer-to-peer, and peer-to-peer was a strong aspect that came through the summer school, which is about obviously using the strengths that I mentioned. It's about academics working as coaches as well to ensure that they can move forward together effectively. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question though. I sense there's something that I'm not really addressing here. So do you mind just expanding a little bit?
No, I think you are addressing, but it's more that it seems to be so easy, and I know it's not easy. If we from Aalborg University, we are the only place where we think it's not easy to get interdisciplinary work to function, then so
no, and you're spot on, and you're spot on, and the challenge here is actually to make it work. I mean, I'm speaking in some senses from the point of view in principle that yes, we've run the summer school. Yes, the summer school went well. What we haven't done yet, and we won't do until September 2021, is actually have our undergraduate course in-house. We won't have our academic complements in-house. We won't have our maker spaces configured in a way that we'll be delivering into this. So until we've got to that point, you know, I can talk about the theory, but I can't actually tell you how well it's worked. So we're doing what we can to mitigate the risk. But I completely agree with you. And, you know, and a key aspect of what we're doing is obviously being, as Bev mentioned as well, being agile, working with ambiguity and just doing what we can to succeed with as the challenges come along. But I apologize if I made it sound easy. It certainly isn't in my experience.
It's totally okay. It's just because we are sitting with in the middle of problems, and whatever help we can and good ideas we can gain, it would be great. So
I think Emanuela has a hand up. Did you want to come in?
Can I just add in? I think there's a difference between some universities that have established disciplines, that students are in their disciplines coming together in the interdisciplinary space, than models like TEDI and NMIT, where the students are in more of an integrated program, right? So they don't come with a discipline. So I think there are different tools for the different programs. I mean, because we are like you, where our students are in a discipline and we have to bring them into the gray space, you know, we actually have to get them to think about their discipline in the gray space before we actually put them in the gray space, because, you know, they need to be able to talk to another discipline in language that is still high level, because they're all engineers and they're all capable, but that the language is just a lot more relatable, right, to other engineers in a different discipline, where I think that's actually probably not a tool that is necessary for the students at TEDI, because they don't come with that discipline, you know, and they are in the gray space and they're tackling this based on, you know, the learning that is already actually framed interdisciplinary. So I do wonder whether or not there's some nuance there.
Yeah, there could well be a nuance, but I think also that there are some commonalities there as well, because students will still come in with the sort of baggage in inverted commas that you mentioned, or the challenges that you mentioned, and we still got the challenge then of overcoming it. But you're right in the sense that because we're very interdisciplinary to start with, it perhaps makes it a bit easier that students are not, you know, as in UCL, students are not part of the week, you know, a biochemical engineer, and the other part of the week working on your IUP, for example.
There's some interesting question from Ruth here about, could you say a little bit more about how your learning tree and the topic tree from Charles Sturt differentiate, how what's different between them?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've taken it as a concept because it's a great concept, and then first of all there is as Charles Sturt have done, there's the opportunity for students to work through it in a way that they choose to work through it. So there's that unsteered way. So in many ways, the first aspect that I showed you, the explore mode, is similar, although we've mounted the connectivity, I guess, within the 365 environment. So we've got different branches that they can go down. We will be informing that with AI as well as we go forward. But in essence, the explore mode is very, very similar to Charles Sturt. It's more the way that we've then integrated it into the modules, and they will be being steered through the modules. So they will work through the pathways that I illustrated and at the end of each of the nodes, they will then be taking a sort of a pass-fail exam that will then just let them into the makerspace. So it's that delivery just in time in the context of the project, in the context of the makerspace, that is different, combined with the way that we're then integrated with the technology within our 365 VLE and 365 based VLE to be able to deliver. So it's just taking the concept one step further, I guess, in a way. Yeah,
well, yeah, I guess it's contextualized. I guess in this Charles Sturt model, you've got quite a distributed cohort, whereas I guess you have a present cohort to some extent in your program. What was the intention?
Yeah, so well, they are present, but I guess in terms of delivery, it will still be through the VLE. So in that sense, the delivery will be the same. But we will also have, obviously, more, as you say, more interaction directly with them, as I mentioned earlier. So it's then about supporting the students who are perhaps need that little bit more support on a more of a one-to-one basis, or if there's cohorts of students coming through who are struggling, then setting up pop-up tutorials, workshops, whatever we need to do to reinforce the message, reinforce the knowledge and skills before they then go on.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Does anyone else want to come in? David, interesting comment and observation in the chat. Did you want to say a little bit about that?
I guess it was more a comment, but I think the single biggest headache that I've had in often driving curriculum change has been, you know, oh, but my students must know this, and this being, you know, any individual academic's particular topic, and you know, so it was that comment about sort of what you know, that just in case comment. So I was just trying to think of the phrase you used, just in case.
Yeah, it was just in case rather than just in time.
Yeah, exactly. And so much of what we teach is often, I'll challenge my colleagues about why they're teaching certain things, and they'll say, "Oh, but they have to know this. Would you fly in a plane that was designed by an aeronautical engineer who didn't know X?" And I say, well, no, but not all your students are going to be designing exactly that particular thing. And so that kind of leads to this observation about, I much prefer to see students who know what they don't know and recognize that they shouldn't be doing design when they don't have certain skill sets than those who maybe know a bit more but have much less self-awareness of their knowledge base and therefore kind of extend into areas where they shouldn't be. And so it's so much of what I think is crucial for us is not only what we teach students, but the extent to which we help them understand what they do and don't know, and therefore where they're competent to practice.
No, absolutely. And I guess a couple of things within this. I mean, the first one is in terms of teaching just in case. We ran an interesting exercise with our industry advisory board where we gave them, it was in fact a first year UNSW maths paper, and asked them, how much of this do you still use? How much of this, did you feel our students should be covering? And it was less than 10% in pretty much all the cases. So that illustrates the point that we've got to move away from a rite of passage to delivering what the students need. And then you're right, it's in terms of students understanding what they know and what they don't know, rather than feeling that. So in terms of knowing what they do know, what our approach as well is to, let's take programming as a good example. Well, we'll teach them, say, a couple of languages, but then they're equipped to learn other languages as they need to as they go through their career, rather than them teaching a whole library, learning a whole library of different languages. And we're applying that principle across the piece. So it's about equipping them with the generic skill set, a bit like softer skills in a sense, or higher order skills. It's equipping them with the ability to then acquire what they need going forwards with one or two examples, rather than covering the whole landscape just in case.
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you all very much. I think it's been a fabulous session, and it's interesting that I guess, particularly in this space of more personalized learning, we have 4 of the 5 talks are from new institutions, those that didn't adapt existing. I think that actually says a lot about this difficulty of breaking some of the shackles. We've mentioned regulation, we've mentioned the research teaching paradox, as well as the sort of traditional views of faculty on their subject being in the curriculum. And what happens if students don't do it? Well, you can't be an engineer without doing my particular specialism attitudes that we see. So it's really interesting to surface a lot of those and to see these models that have sprung up, and particularly think about how we can build them into more established universities.